Podcasts are the best way to grow in life, and if you're listening different type of podcasts, like these impacts and their life lessons are huge. And in this video, I'm going to share with you guys 10 podcasts that everyone should listen in their life to grow in their life. So this will be in different categories. For example, in business, in life lessons, creator. If you are a creator, you should definitely listen this podcast. And in books, and around productivity and building businesses, managing businesses, what's happening in this new technology area. So different category type of podcast, and I'm listening this through like months or years, and these are my favorite podcasts. The reasons is to listen podcasts is to grow in life. So basically these two persons are having conversation in their topic that they are interested, the topics that they have experienced for years and they expert in it. And if you listen to those conversations, they're deep insightful conversations, you will definitely blown away by the new thoughts, the new information that you have gained after listening to those podcasts. So that is the best way to the reason to listen podcasts. The first podcast is the Lex Friedman podcast, and this is one of the biggest podcasts. If you know about the podcast world, you know like Lex Friedman podcast having a large amount of audience and the downloads on different platforms. And one of the reasons that I listen to his podcast is like they talk about deep conversations in various ways, like in different categories, different topics in life, in journal life, in the society, basically on different weird topics sometimes, like UFOs and aliens. So I'm very curious to know about some of these topics that I haven't heard about, and I am curious to know about like what's happening in this type of domain, what's the information which is new that I should be known. So that is the reason that I listen to his podcast. And one of the biggest guests I think I've listened to is Elon Musk and the Mark Zuckerberg podcast. And recently he made a podcast with Joe Rogan, which is very interesting too. So one of the biggest podcasts. If you haven't heard about this, make sure you listen to his podcast, Lex Friedman. The next podcast is My First Million by Shan Puri and his friend Samir. So one of the best podcasts that I recently listened to about a few months ago, and I love this podcast because they talks about how to earn online and how to start up, basically their mindset. So they bring up guests who made their first $1 million doing their business, doing their ventures like online, and how to run their businesses, what are the things they have done to make success for their business, and the failures if they had any, so their life experience and how they run business. So one of the deepest thoughtful insights running business and making hundreds of millions of dollars. One of the best podcasts to listen if you are wanted to your own business to run online, and how to manage people, how to basically system everything and earn millions of dollars online with your own idea if you have one. So very interesting people he brings on his podcast. So make sure you listen if you're interested in this type of fields. Next is Deep Dive with Ali Abdal. So one of the best content creator, my favorite is Ali Abdal, and I love his videos, I love his vibe. He genuinely cares about what he makes and basically share information free available online on his YouTube channel. His newsletter are very good. So this is one of the reasons that I listen to his podcast, and genuinely the guests are very good. They share about the information about productivity, and many times he brings authors, and you love about reading books, and I know you are, so you're gonna love his podcast. So he brings authors and they share about their journey, their book, their deep insightful thoughts about writing their books, and basically you're gonna love it. And if you love productivity, insightful conversations, deep meaningful thoughts about life lessons and running business online with their own experiences, you're gonna love his podcast. Next is The Diary of a CEO by Steven Bartlett. Steven Bartlett is a very interesting person, and I love listening his podcast too because he brings up new guests, new perspective, new topics all the time, sometimes unknown faces, and they share about their own life experiences, life lessons, and how to be happy in life. Sometimes authors also, so I love watching about the authors also on his podcast. And if you are also interested in this, and if you have also read his book called Happy Sexy Millionaire, and a couple of months ago I read his book, his own life story, life lessons, and how he grew up his own company, digital marketing agency so fast. So you're gonna love his podcast too. So make sure you listen to it, The Diary of a CEO, if you wanna grow in life, if you are in your 20s and wanted to figure out the other things that makes you happy, not in so much depression, and the things that you care about, treat yourself, exploring different things. So you're gonna love this podcast, so make sure you check it out. Next is The Ranveer Show by Ranveer Allahabadia, and his podcast is I think the #1 podcast in India, and you're gonna love it if you are interested in spirituality, the dark stuff. Some of the times he also brings famous celebrities, and if you love watching them, their stories, what they're interested in, so you're gonna love his podcast too. So make sure to check it out, because I loved it, and some of the times I learned some new things, some new topics. He brings scientists also, and also discussing about some deep insightful topics on spirituality, on Bhagavad Gita, on our India, like the society was happening, so all of this journal stuff. So make sure to check it out if you are interested. Next is the Ferris Show by Ferris. So if you are interested in the topics of Bitcoin, cryptocurrency, technology, future things, AI, and the writing and the book recommendations, so he shares a lot of these topics in this field, and he brings famous people on his podcast. And my favorite one is the Mark Zuckerberg, when he brings Mark on his podcast. I love listening to his insightful thoughts about Facebook and Instagram, and how he brings up new things, new technology on his businesses, metaverse. So very interesting topics he brings up, and some insightful deep thoughts. So make sure if you're interested in these topics, and you should be if you're in your 20s and watching this social media, the online things, the new things coming up like Web3, cryptocurrencies, you're gonna love his podcast. Next one is Colin and Samir Show, and if you are a creator, you're gonna love these guys' podcast, because they are very interesting and they know what they are talking about, and they have tons of knowledge in this social media game, YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, and online basically. So like how they should create content and market it and figure out the algorithm, and they bring up new guests in this creator field. And my favorite one is the MKBHD episode, and I learned so much about watching the episode, about the algorithm, about the hashtags, the titles, the strategy, and how should we plan our content and market it. So the algorithm, like all of these things, YouTube are very, if you gonna learn about YouTube, is very deep, and understanding, if you have experience, you know it. So basically these his episodes are very interesting, and if you are a creator, I'm definitely recommending you to listen this guy's podcast, and their newsletters also, they're very awesome. So make sure to check it out, the Colin and Samir Show. Next is about books and self-development books, and I am going to include my friend's podcast, and this is I think the #1 podcast in personal development books, and it's called Book Thinkers Life-Changing Podcast, hosted by Nick. He's one of my friends on Bookstagram community, and he's a very cool guy. So make sure to check it out. If you follow me on Instagram, you definitely know what I'm talking about. Book Thinkers is a brand, and Nick is doing for like a past I don't know how many years, and he got a lot of experience. On his podcast, he brings up new authors and talking about their books, talking about book recommendations, what are their process, and what their mission in life through their books. So basically very cool guy, and talks about a lot of deep insightful thoughts about their mind, the authors, and brings up new things on the table every time and every new episode. So make sure to check it out, Book Thinkers Life-Changing Podcast. Next is Smart Passive Income by Pat Flynn. I know about Pat Flynn from like past 5 or 6 years, when I started like doing affiliate marketing, and I discovered this guy called Pat Flynn. And back then I was very new to this online field, and I discovered affiliate marketing through Pat Flynn, and listened to his podcast. So basically all about his podcast is passive income, online generating income, marketing your content, building a brand, building an audience, and how to influence people, different ways to monetize your audience in passive income. So very cool, deep, insightful thoughts in marketing. And if you are new to this online field, in creator field, or you are planning to expand your business in different areas online and have a passive income, so make sure to check it out, Smart Passive Income by Pat Flynn. Last one is The Daily Stoic by Ryan Holiday, and if you love reading his book, all of his book, The Stillness is the Key, The Obstacle is the Way, The Daily Stoic, and he talks about stoicism in all of his books. He's best in the stoicism field, and he's the #1 who talks about very deep, insightful thoughts in stoicism that helps you live better life, live a very meaningful, calm life, where you're not stressed very much about the different things that are going on in your life, and you have a calm mind, very relaxed mind, focused mind. And listening to his podcast make me think, make me me like satisfied about all of these things that going on in my life and be calm. So make sure to check it out, the Daily Stoic by Ryan Holiday. So these are top 10 favorite podcasts that I listen regularly, and when the new episodes came out, when they brings up new guests and some celebrities, best known faces, and they're talking about my favorite topics, and I immediately jump onto these episodes and I watch and I listen to these episodes, and they're very insightful, making me feel good. So I will put the link in the description box below, all of these topics links, so make sure you check it out from the description box below. If you are new to my channel, make sure to subscribe it and hit the bell icon, so whenever I'm putting new video, you guys can get notified and watch those videos. Till then, I will see you guys in the next video. Bye.